Heng Niang. It is said that the wife of Hongdae, a native of Kyoto, was named Shu. She was beautiful. The couple had a very good relationship. Later, Hongdae took another maid as a concubine, named Boudoir. Her beauty was far inferior to Shu's, but Hongdae doted on her. Zhu was unyielding and often quarreled with Hongdae over this matter. Although Hongdae did not dare to sleep in his concubine's room openly, he favored Boudoir more and alienated Zhu from then on. Soon after, Hongdae moved home and became a neighbor of a cloth merchant named Dai's wife, named Heng Niang, came to the courtyard first to pay a visit to Mrs. Zhu. Heng Niang was about 30 years old. She was of plain appearance, but her words were clever and moving. And Mrs. Zhu liked her very much. The next day, Mrs. Zhu went to pay a return visit and saw that the Di family also had a concubine. She was in her 20s and very beautiful. The two families had been living together for nearly half a year, and they had never heard Heng Niang scold his concubine once. However, the cloth merchant only doted on Heng Niang, and the concubine's room was just a false one. Zhu was very surprised. One day he saw Heng Niang and asked why. She said, "I thought men loved concubines just because they were concubines. I often wanted to change the name of wife to concubine. Now I know it's not the case." Like this, what kind of magic did you use? If you can teach it, I would like to be your disciple. Heng Niang said with a smile. Oh, it's you who alienated him. How can you blame the man? You chatter all day long from morning to night. Isn't this driving birds away from the bushes and fishes from the abyss? It can only make the relationship between the two more and more alienated. After you go back, you should indulge him and stop interfering with his actions. If he gets close to you, ignore him. 1 month later, I will find a way for you. Zhu followed Heng Niang's advice. After returning home, she dressed up more and asked her to sleep and eat together with her husband. Hongdae occasionally dealt with Zhu, but Zhu always refused. Therefore, the whole family praised Zhu's virtuousness. After more than a month of this, Mrs. Zhu went to see Heng Niang. Heng Niang said happily, "Okay. When you go back, don't dress up anymore, don't wear gorgeous clothes, don't put on makeup and powder. Let yourself be dirty and shabby. Work with the servants at home, and come back in a month." After hearing this, Mrs. Zhu put on tattered clothes when she returned home and deliberately made herself dirty. She didn't care about anything except spinning and weaving. Hongdae took pity on her and sometimes asked Boudoir to do some work for her, but Zhu refused and always drank Boudoir away. After a month like this, she went to see Heng Niang again. Heng Niang praised her and said, "You are so teachable, boy. The day after tomorrow is the Spring Festival, and I want to invite you to go to the spring garden together. You must throw away your rags, dress up carefully, and beautify your body. Come and see me early with a new look." Zhu agreed. Okay. On that day, Mrs. Zhu looked in the mirror, applied makeup and powder, and carefully dressed up according to Heng Niang's instructions. After dressing up, I went to see Heng Niang. Heng Niang said happily, "That's it." He also pulled up Zhu's hair so that the light could be seen. He took out the unfashionable parts of her clothes and redid them. He also said that the style of her shoes was too clumsy, so he took out a pair of shoes that were being made from the sewing basket and asked Zhu to finish the work. Put it on. Before the two of them parted, they asked Mr. Zhu to drink some wine and told her, "When you see your husband after you go back, close the door early and go to bed. If he calls the door, don't listen. Call the door 3 times before letting him in once." He thought, don't be too accommodating to him when he's being affectionate with you. Come back after half a month. Mrs. Zhu went home and put on makeup to see her husband. When Hongdae saw it, he looked very surprised. He looked up and down, talking and laughing, which was not like usual. Mrs. Zhu briefly talked about the situation in the garden, then put her hand on her cheek and looked tired. Before it got dark, I got up and went back to my room to sleep. Not long after, Hongdae knocked on the door. Zhu was lying in bed, so Hongdae had to leave. Hongdae called again the next night, but was also rejected. At dawn, Hongdae blamed Zhu. Zhu said, I am used to sleeping alone and can't stand the interruption of others. As soon as the sun turned westward, Heng Dae's career rested in Ju's room. When it got dark, the two of them put out the candles and went to bed, making love as if they were newlyweds. They made an appointment to meet again the next night, but Ju felt that it should not be too frequent. So she agreed with Heng Dae to meet once every 3 days. About half a month later, Mrs. Ju went to see Heng Niang again. Heng Niang closed the door and said to her, "From now on, your husband will only like you. But although you are beautiful, you are not charming. With your beauty, if you are more charming, you can be better than Shih Tzu, let alone someone who is not as good as Shih Tzu." So Ju gave her a wink. And Heng Niang corrected her, "No, the problem is in the eye sockets." She made Mr. Ju smile and said, "No, the problem is on her left cheek." So Heng Niang gave her a loving look and smiled charmingly, and asked Mr. Ju to imitate her. Ju learned it dozens of times before imitating it roughly like Heng Niang. Heng Niang said, "You can go back and practice carefully in front of the mirror. These are my methods. As for skills in bed, the key is to adapt to circumstances and do what you like. This cannot be expressed in words." Ju went back and did exactly what Heng Niang taught. Heng Dae was really fascinated. For fear of being rejected by Ju, he would tease Ju every day before it got dark and would not leave Ju's house even half a step. Can't drive him away either. However, Mrs. Ju was even more kind to Bao Dai. Every time she had a banquet in the bedroom, she would invite Bao Dai to sit on the same bed. But Heng Dae felt that the treasure belt was getting more and more ugly and distasteful to his eyes. He would often let the treasure belt go away before the wine was finished. Mrs. Ju deceived her husband into Bao Dai's room and locked the door. Heng Dae ignored Bao Dai all night. From then on, Bao Dai began to hate Heng Dae and often complained and scolded people. Heng Dae hated her even more after hearing about her, and gradually beat and scolded Bao Dai. The treasure belt was so ashamed and angry that it simply broke the jar and dragged it round with a pair of broken shoes all day long. Her hair is as messy as firewood, and she is no longer an adult. One day, Heng Niang asked Ju, "How is my magic?" Ju said, "It's wonderful, but I, my disciple, can't understand its secret. First, I want to indulge men." "Why?" Heng Niang said, "Haven't you heard that people like the new and hate the old? The reason why a man loves his concubine is not necessarily because she is beautiful, but because she feels fresh after getting married. And it is rare to share the same bed with him, which adds to this feeling. Freshness. Now indulge him and let him enjoy it to his heart's content. There are times when he gets tired of delicacies, not to mention wild vegetable soup." Ju asked again, "First you ruin your makeup, and then you show off your makeup again. Why is that?" Heng Niang replied, "Let him not pay attention to you for a period of time. When he first sees you, it will be like meeting again after a long separation. Suddenly he sees you with heavy makeup, like a newly married bride. This is like a poor man suddenly getting delicious meat. Then again, it's hard to swallow when you look at coarse rice. But you don't satisfy him right away, making him feel that that one is old and I am fresh. That one is easy to get, but I am hard to get. This is how you turn your wife into a concubine." Mrs. Ju liked her very much and became close friends with Heng Niang. A few years later, Heng Niang suddenly said to Mrs. Ju, "We are as good as one person. I should not hide my life from you. I always wanted to tell you in the past because I was afraid that you would have doubts. Now we are about to separate. I will tell you the truth. I am really a fox, and was sold to Kyoto by my stepmother when I was a child. My husband is very good to me, so I can't bear to say goodbye to him immediately, and I will miss him for today. Tomorrow my father will pass away, and I will go back. I'm going to visit my relatives, and will never come back again." When Mrs. Ju heard about it, she held Heng Niang's hand and cried. I went to see Heng Niang early the next morning and saw that the De family was panicked. It turned out that Heng Niang had suddenly disappeared without a trace.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.